A to the K.
To the K.
To the K. Coming up tonight on the Ringside Report. Jeff Hardy has been arrested on a third DUI.
Paige is open for bookings after WWE release.
Trish Stratus once again teases a potential return to the ring against Becky Lynch.
WWE release NXT's Troy 2 times Donovan.
We have a potential update on why WWE released Bray Wyatt.
Chris Hemsworth gives an update on Hulk Hogan biopic.
And Roman Reigns reportedly only scheduled for one appearance this summer.
What?
Anthony, when's all that coming up?
It's all coming up right fucking now.
Yes, it is. So
yes, it is. Let's
kick things off on a bit of a somber tone, unfortunately. On Monday, so 2 days ago, Jeff Hardy has once again run into some trouble with the law enforcement. So he was...
I'm trying to take this seriously, but you said run, and I'm like, well, technically he drove, and it's like, that's your fault. It's not my fault.
I mean, it's a little bit your fault. He drove himself into trouble. So he was basically pulled over in Florida and has been charged with 3 separate offences. So basically he was charged with a DUI for the third time in 10 years, driving while his licence was revoked, and also violating restrictions placed on driver's licence. So they were the 3 charges, which combined to a total bond of $3,500. So the big news is with this...
The loose change in Tony Khan's pocket, whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, but the big news is with this is because it's his third DUI in the space of 10 years or whatever it is, he's now basically potentially looking at jail time. So I think this, in the state of Florida, is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. So obviously...
You gotta hope, though, like, I understand, incarceration is particularly high, but you gotta hope, though, that the rehabilitation is the aim here,
Well, yeah, it's one of those, really. So I think, and also just to mention, TMZ actually released the dash cam footage from the police car of Hardy's arrest as well. And he can be heard in that video admitting to drinking around about 3 drinks, to which when the officer questions him, he says, what about basically 3 double fireballs? And he also revealed that he was due to undergo a brain scan soon as well. So, yeah, it's not looking great. Now, a lot of people, I guess we'll come on to our kind of personal thoughts on it, but a lot of people were basically... decided to kind of come at AEW around why haven't they released a statement, what's going on with this, blah, 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 blah. Tony Khan did release a statement last night basically saying that AEW don't condone the actions, that he's suspended without pay, and that they're going to do what they can to get him the treatment that he needs, and he'll only return to AEW once he's completed that treatment and maintains his sobriety. So it's a very, firm and fair statement. But
to be honest, I'm not surprised about the statements. I know people like to jump on, and this sadly became about AEW versus WWE all over again, even though it's about Jeff and his problems at the moment. But you look at how they dealt with Mox and his issues. Admittedly it's slightly different. Mox admitted he had a problem and needed to go and get help and went and got it. But at the same time, they handled that well, and they did a similar thing of he's not going to return until they can be sure he's ready to return. And I'm just well, yeah, why would they do any different with Jeff? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, people like to sort of jump on it and see, WWE knew he needed help and all this. It's that's all well and good, but you can only help people who want to be helped. Even if that's true, it doesn't really change anything, does it?
No, it doesn't. But I think, I don't know why in a lot of people's minds the first thought is to go at AEW over this. Essentially, right, for me, people have demons, of course, I think I saw a post from Mike Bennett, who obviously he's suffered his own substance abuse issues, and he basically said something along the lines of, there's no one size fits all approach for people who are battling kind of things like sobriety and addiction and stuff like that. It's basically it's each to their own, and I get that. For me, where you have to draw the line with Jeff, unfortunately, is it's one decision to drink too much and like a bit of alcohol. There's a completely different decision to then get behind a wheel, because you're putting people's lives at stake, like seriously.
You're totally right.
We know from the situation with Sunny now, she's been accused of potentially fatally, causing a fatal collision recently, through drink driving, and you've got to ask, the thing is, he's not short of a few quid, right? It's like he can get a taxi, he can get an Uber, whatever. It's kind of like, and I get it. It seems like
that, like, I don't know, self-destructive behaviour, isn't it? Like, it would be easy to do that, but that's not the mentality, sadly, he's in, at the moment.
It's just such a shame, and fair dues. People might say, I think he said on the video he was going from North Carolina to North Carolina, but he was in Florida. So I think he'd gone to like a convention or a meet and greet. Jeff and Rebby had flown home, and Jeff had decided to stay behind and essentially drive back. Now he's obviously had a few drinks and he's been caught. So it's one of those. Obviously, a lot of people are advocating maybe he does need to serve some time or whatever. Maybe that's the only way he'll get him clean. I don't know. At the end of the day,
I mean, to be honest, like I don't sort of. It's difficult to know what's best, and anyone who's saying like, maybe he needs that consequence. Like I get it. I do get it. But at the same time, I think the wrestling business isn't good for him.
No. The thing for me, and I can kind of understand why he would be reluctant to do a month stint in rehab, for example. And, God forbid he now ends up going and serving jail time. But he's got a family. He's got young kids. Yeah. It's like, who wants to be away from the kids, for any particular reason? So, yeah.
No, it's, but again, you're talking about people thinking in the right mind. But if he's in that sort of point mentally at the minute, where he's willing to drink and jump in a car and stuff, I don't think he's sort of considering those things and those consequences. But sadly, I don't. We could speculate all day about why and so on like that. This isn't the first time for him, and it is a real shame. We love the nostalgic pop of the Hardy Boys being back and seeing them in AEW and stuff. But like, again, speculation. But can he handle the bumps anymore? Like, is this self-medication, and is it just time to retire?
Yeah, I mean, he said he was going to go for a brain scan and stuff like that to the officer. So who knows? He was reported that he was pretty banged up anyway. He's had a life of doing crazy kind of high risk stuff. So I imagine his body is not in the best state as it is. So yeah, people try and deal with that pain in different ways, and I just hope he finds something that works for him and that he'll finally leave this behind him, because at the minute it only looks like it's going to end one way, and I think it's a way that nobody wants.
Yeah. No, like you say, you want him to sort of find a path out, really, don't you? I think I won't name them because I don't know if they'd want to be named, but I know you've been speaking to a few people on our socials, and the mention of Diamond Dallas Page came up, and it's like, I don't know how you joined that program, but I mean, look at the way DDP's helped people over the years. Like, come on, like that's what needs to happen, innit?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Diamond's is just an absolute legend. He's unbelievable. So I think he absolutely, Jeff should reach out to Dallas. It's doing wonders for so many people, and maybe that can be the way. Who knows? But yeah, obviously it's still all developing at the minute. We don't know what this is going to mean. I think he's set to appear, in court in like the next week or so around it. So maybe more will come to light then. But yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing him in AEW anytime soon. So that in itself is it's a shame.
Indeed. So moving on to slightly different stuff, Carl, and obviously as best we can with Samba news like that. But you may have noticed recently that WWE's Paige has her contract has actually ended. She's no longer with WWE, so she confirmed this via I think Instagram and Twitter. And in the mention of it, it's kind of one thing I never really thought about with this that she pointed out, and like that must be a bit weird, is the fact that she's no longer Paige. Like the name is still WWE, so she's Saraya now again, which family name in it, so that's cool. But it must be really strange to spend so much of your wrestling career as Paige, and then that not be something you use anymore. That's pretty strange.
Mm.
But on top of that, she's tweeted out recently, not long after the news breaking that she's essentially a free agent now. She sort of felt the need to put a tweet out, understandably, because of the way the internet can be. She said that I've been told that there are people making fake emails pretending to be me to try and scam promoters, etc. The only 2 emails that are mine are booksaraya@gmail.com and sarayabusinessinquiry@gmail.com. That being said, now I've had a few days to chill. Let's go! So that's I think that was necessary because, like you say, there are trolls out there who will try and scam people. And obviously anyone listening who wants to book Saraya, I assume just for wrestling stuff, like you can't like have it turn up at parties and stuff, but book Saraya, there's the email addresses. And it looks like she's ready to embark on a sort of a different sort of path in her career now, which is awesome. Now, the question I have for you, Carl, is there's a lot of speculation as to whether she'll get back in the ring. And we know there's been differences between what WWE would sign off and what other promotions would sign off. Do you think we could see her back in the ring, or do you still think that's because she's made a few comments in the past about like feeling great and so on like that. So like, and that could just be like an innocuous comment, but at the same time, do you read into it and go, she's ready to get back in the ring, or what do you think?
I mean, I don't know whether it's my kind of rose-tinted glasses, but it seems to indicate that she's potentially open to the idea of, I guess kind of by having 2 business, like a business email, then also book Saraya. That one kind of indicates she might be available to actual wrestling bookings. But I think, as you said, WWE have been reluctant to sign off on a lot of stuff. I think Daniel Bryan, obviously now Bryan Danielson, let's use that as the example. Like, they were basically like, nah, you're not wrestling for us. And then he essentially managed to go over to AEW. Now, the thing that's most important is that she is, able to do it and that it's safe for her to do so. Now, obviously, WWE's doctors and things like that, they might be more reluctant because ultimately...
I mean, as you say, it seems that it's a hard path. I know Daniel Bryan, he managed to sort of have a stint in the WWE again, so he managed to get signed off, and we've seen the likes of Edge come back from like the neck injuries as well. So it's not impossible in WWE, but it seems to be a lot harder in terms of what they're willing to sign off. And I understand, I'm not having a go at WWE if they want to be risk averse, because it is obviously them putting people on the line. So, I get that. And, again, I'm not having a pop at any indie promotion she goes to. Might let her wrestle. It's kind of a personal choice for her, isn't it? If she's, sort of been checked out and is confident she's fine, then, who's to stop her, really,
Well, exactly. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what she does. If she does go, choose to get back in the ring, you would like to think AEW would be the perfect stomping ground for her, and there'd be loads she can do there. But if it's not the AEW route she goes down, then who knows? Maybe we're going to see her kind of back over here for the likes of TNT or Progress or whatever. You know what I mean? It'd be interesting to see what she decides to do. But she may choose not to get back in the ring, or she might have got cleared. But at least it kind of gets you kind of excited that we may see her back finally.
I still can't believe that she hasn't been an on-screen personality for a long time. It just made sense having someone who was so sort of remembered in the women's division. Sort of iconic, really. They come up from NXT and winning the Divas title. I know we don't talk about the Divas title anymore, but so integral to the rise of the women's division, really, in a way. And I'd because obviously she was, I can't remember who she was managing now, but she was managing a team at one point, wasn't she? And then she was GM on SmackDown and so on like that. And then it just kind of stopped after Talking Smack ended.
Yeah, and I think to be fair to her, she said, she holds no hard feelings. She hasn't done anything for the WWE in, well over a year in terms of that kind of side of things. So, it didn't come as a surprise to her or anything like that. And she's been quite thankful that they've kept her there. But that's
incredibly professional and like you say, they've not done it wrong in that sense. But from a fan standpoint, you go, why wouldn't you use it as some sort of on-screen personality? That's crazy.
Exactly.
But it is what it is. They make the creative choices, don't they?
Indeed. But yeah, exciting to see where it goes, though. Love the idea that she could come back. But let's see.
I'm back.
So the next one, sticking with the theme of women's wrestling. Now, this might just be a throwaway comment, so I won't spend too much time on it. But
throw it away,
basically, Trish Stratus was interviewed by Sportskeeda. Again, we're mates with Trish now, so we could probably just ask her ourselves because we're that close.
You should have.
Yeah,
like Trish, the wrestling.
But she was interviewed by Sportskeeda about any potential ring return in the future, and she said, "I mean, if someone's out of line, Becky Lynch, I might," and basically said, like the interviewer then said, "Well, would that be her toughest opponent of all time?" To which she said, it'd really be nothing. She's a little out of sorts right now, got a lot on her mind. I think I could take advantage of that. Maybe just slip in there and just beat her." Now, this comes kind of almost fresh off the back of an altercation they had in Canada at a live event earlier in the year. Now, that drummed up speculation a little bit, and now the fact that Trish's name dropped her in an interview as well. Do you think we could see Trish come back, kind of sort of like for a little mini run like Lita had against Becky Lynch?
I think it'd be cool. Like, I would like to see that. I mean, it's one of them, like, I kind of up and down on like nostalgic pops, and both companies do it massively. But at the same time, again, she's an icon of the women's division, and you get that a lot less in the women's division than you do the men's. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we've seen Goldberg like 100 times, and you just don't get the same effect in the women's side. So for me, I'm all for it. I'd like to see her come back.
There's no reason why she couldn't. She's in great physical condition. She does a lot of work with like yoga and things like that. So it's not like she'd just be coming back and would look awful. I think she could do it justice, just as she could do in her prime. So I think to your point, and we've said this a lot, you got the likes of your Goldbergs and stuff who come back for a payday and they look, not great. Let's be honest. So why not have someone come back more often in the women's division?
It is like a it's something that does puzzle me, and like I'm not trying to sort of like be like, oh, they don't treat women right, because I know that like people just sort of jump on that the minute like somebody's not on TV and stuff like that, But like I think Medusa mentioned it not too long back, and she is one that that massively puzzles me. Like how they've never brought Medusa back to like manage someone or something like that is crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe because she set fire to the women's title. I don't know, Carl. But
she didn't set fire to it. Just dropped it in a bin.
Is that like probably not generally, but like.
I mean, she did explode.
Effect for me, I totally remember setting fire to that trash can.
she did strap a bomb to it and explode the women's title and all of WWE headquarters.
Didn't she drop it in there, set fire to it, and then throw it into the crowd?
Maybe that was on the unseen footage. But no.
All right, yeah. I'm full of shite. She put it in the bin. Like, I remember it going on fire, but maybe I'm just remembering other times things have been on fire. I don't know.
Yes, but yeah, interesting one, and I think I'd be up for this. I think Trish is a ledge. So,
indeed, Trish is a ledge. There you go.
Indeed,
you heard it here first. So next one, Carl. I know you're not a big NXT guy, but hear me out. Troy Donovan.
Who?
Troy Donovan.
A kid.
So Troy Donovan, obviously making a name for himself on NXT, and sadly was released rather recently. And it was reported by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer that he was reportedly let go following a policy issue. So there's been a little bit of speculation what's gone on there, and so far we have a bit of a response from Donovan regarding his release, in which he says that he wants to thank everyone who reached out. Mistakes happen and lessons are learned. A bump in the road doesn't define me though. I'll be back. So Arnold Schwarzenegger there, right? And it just I don't know what the situation is, and I don't suppose we'll ever know. But it's interesting, mistakes happened. Like a policy issue, like it wasn't even like what we're used to, and it's like, oh, it's a wellness violation, and you go, oh, okay, we know what's happened. A policy issue could be any number of things. So let's speculate, Carl. Stop speculating, listen.
Love it. I have absolutely no idea, to be honest with you. I don't know what policies they have other than the wellness policy, to be fair. So
yeah, just normally they're not shy about saying wellness violation, are they? So when they say a policy issue, it sounds like something else. Like, he could have just parked in Vince's parking space for all we know. I don't know.
I mean, maybe he sneezed.
That is in the policy.
Yeah. If you look in your contract, page 367, line 48.
But I don't know if you saw a lot of him. He seemed to have a lot of potential, and it is a shame. But you never know. WWE isn't the only road, so maybe we see him on the Indies or going forward. He seems certainly from his comments to be you know, willing to move forward and sort of take it on the chin, which is fair enough. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really.
Indeed. Well, yeah, I mean, the main thing is, as you say, hopefully he finds his feet and we see him back and he's learned from whatever violation he did.
Indeed.
So the next one could be much ado about nothing, but Ringside News are reporting that they know the reason why Bray was released from WWE. They asked around, and apparently it was in large part due to the Fiend character. Now, the belief internally from the contacts that they spoke to was that the Fiend did no favours for talent and effectively killed anyone that he worked with. Now, they referenced the likes of Seth Rollins and The Miz in terms of how it basically destroyed them as babyfaces, so that the only thing they could do was to turn them heel and try and get them to work their way back up, essentially, which is an interesting take. But there was also a little comment in there as well that said, somebody commented that all of it kind of went a bit to Bray's head, and he started seeing himself as the new Undertaker.
Really?
Which, having met Bray,
yeah, such a smart now, aren't you?
I know. Yeah,
having chatted with the guy,
but no, obviously, it's well known that he's a very very nice guy. But there has been a couple of things around him being difficult to work with creatively. But whether or not, I can't personally see it of going to his head that much to the point where he had almost like an Undertaker complex. I don't know. I can't see that. But the thing is, there's been so many different reasons, hasn't there? There was health issues, there was weight issues, there was creative differences. There's just all these different things. So which one do you believe? It's just a different one every week.
I mean,
because
let's be honest. And I'll be one of these guys. If I'd have been in that Hell in a Cell, that infamous Hell in a Cell match, I'd be a bit difficult to work with creatively.
I mean, it was awful, wasn't it? To be fair, he did
taking the loss to Goldberg. I'd probably be a little bit difficult to work with creatively as well.
Well, yeah, there is that.
I find it funny. He gets sort of the suggestion is oh, he got a bit big for his boots, thinking he's the new Undertaker and so on like that. And it's okay, yeah, you don't want somebody to be arrogant, but at the same time, why can everyone say it except for Bray?
Yeah,
because everyone's the Fiend. That's the modern day Undertaker, the mythic character, that kind of thing. And then if Bray suggests he might be the new Undertaker, he's an arrogant so-and-so.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he said it, in all fairness, but it's funny because everyone was saying it at one point.
Well, exactly. So, I don't know, it doesn't really line up, does it? But especially when, obviously, we didn't cover this because it was part of the Lost Tapes podcast that didn't record. But we spoke around Bray Wyatt changing his social media tags, I believe. And if we didn't do it then, we did it weeks ago. But I remember us talking about it.
You mentioned, I think he changed it to Wyatt 6, I believe. So everyone was going back to WWE because he's used the name Wyatt.
Well, that's it. He was like the Wyndham Rotunda, wasn't he? And he kept talking about the cult of Wyndham. And now he's changed it to Wyatt 6. So it's well, what does that mean? So, who knows?
What does it mean?
What does it all mean, Basil? But, yeah, I don't know.
And then he'll turn up in some indie promotion as Wyatt Rotunda and everyone will be oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can't about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, interesting one. Could be a bit of a non-starter, but, yeah, interesting take that they think, it's not his fault that the Fiend character buried the baby faces. They booked it. So, what a weird thing to say. But anyway.
And it's a shame about the Lost Tapes, now you mention it, Carl, because, we interviewed so many wrestlers that day and now the tapes are lost to the sands of time.
But we had those experiences, and that's all that matters.
I'm not going to pretend to interview people again, though. That didn't go that well. It was a joke. Fuck's sake.
People aren't over it. People aren't over it still. I liked it.
I'm not.
I liked it.
So, Carl, did you remember a little while back, he said, hey, did you know Chris Hemsworth is going to be playing the Hulk in a film?
I do recall.
About the Hulk. Not
recall.
the Hulk. Not like
he plays Thor, silly goose.
the Incredible... No, the...
The Incredibles.
The
Avengers?
Hulk Hogan, the Hulkamaniac.
What's going
on? So he was set to portray Hulk Hogan in a biopic that was due to be released, because that's a word, released on Netflix. but they hadn't actually provided any release date. And sadly, Chris Van Vliet, when he recently interviewed Chris Hemsworth, actually asked about, because obviously he's a big wrestling guy, he asked about the upcoming movie and asked if it was still happening. And the response, sadly, from Chris was maybe. So he's put some doubt on the future of the film, really. He said that Todd Phillips is very busy right now. That was the director, or the person slated to be the director. He's very busy right now with Joker 2, which, for those who want to know movie stuff, apparently Joker 2 is going to be a musical, so that's fucking crazy. Anyway, and obviously Chris has also been doing other films, most notably Thor: Love and Thunder, which is, I mean, to be fair, he's probably wrapped on that because it's out soon. But it's still basically at the conversation and development stage. And he said there's a lot of things that need to come together to make it happen. So it doesn't sound as sort of set in stone as we probably would have hoped.
Yeah.
Do you think there's potential for them backing off on this? Or
I mean, there's definitely potential for them to back off, but I also think it was never as much of a sure thing as it was reported in the first place. Now, I'm no massive movie expert, but essentially in the movie biz, you get so many films that get announced or are in pre-production and things like that, which just never come to pass. Like, for example, they were going to do a sequel to Twins, who were called Triplets, and Eddie Murphy was going to be the third twin. The third triplet. And like that's Eddie been announced for ages. Nothing's happened with it. You had Austin Powers 4 has been announced for ages. Nothing's happened with it. So sometimes these ideas just kind of get people attached and just end up in limbo, essentially. But I think, unfortunately, with this one, it could be that from a kind of producer standpoint or an investment standpoint, people have gone, don't really want to associate myself with Hulk Hogan because of his past and the things he's been associated with and stuff like that.
But this is the trouble, though. Chris was all set to do it. You know, he's a method actor, Chris. So he was getting into the Hulk Hogan mindset and started being racist to everyone. I'm kidding. But no, you're right. There is some controversies around Hulk Hogan, and maybe that's what's caused the level. But the controversies, to be fair, I think they were around before they even announced the potential biopic, though. This is a strange thing about it.
Yeah, it's one of them. I think maybe they announced it, and then when they've come to try and, like, I don't know, get more financing for it and stuff like that, maybe the execs have just been like, nah, but, They
seem very unsure, the execs, and I think Hulk Hogan needs to just contact them directly and ask them what they're going to do.
Yeah, he's got the jokes. He's got the jokes. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's one of those. I mean, I don't know whether Vince McMahon, because isn't Vince getting a biopic or a series or something on Netflix as well? At the end of the day,
I believe so. We heard it was a series last night. I read into it, but again, it's another one of the things where there's been mention of it and there's no firm information really.
No, and it's also the fact that it's been linked with Netflix, hasn't it? So it's like Netflix want to do everything at the minute, and they've got massive losses. And it's like,
and it's just that mad fucker in Netflix who's just there with the big cancelled stamp, and he's just like, "Yay, I love my job." And,
yeah, all except for Stranger Things, season
Stranger
18
Things will go forever because and I'm not dissing Stranger Things.
I am.
Between like Carl, right? I says to you the other day, I says, "Carl, what do you think of Stranger Things?" And he says, I watched like 3 episodes, and I was like, "Do you know what? I'm so intrigued." But go on.
You put words in my mouth. I watched all of season 1. Season 2 didn't grip me.
Okay.
Not watched it since.
So I was similar. I watched season 1, and then I kind of never went back to it. And then I've been so intrigued by season 4, and I'll be honest, that song has been like a bit of an earworm for me. So it's been playing in my head over and over, and I don't even know what the lyrics are. So that's a pain in the ass.
What, Kate Bush?
Yeah. Right. So I'm like, okay, I need to sort of get rid of this. So I'm gonna watch Stranger Things, but I have to start at season 2. Right. I am now caught up. I'll be honest with you. I'm caught up. I've got to the end of season 4. And I just want to say to you, and this is not wrestling related, and anyone who is here for wrestling stuff, I don't know why you thought we were a wrestling show. Like, don't know what led you to believe that.
Welcome to Ant's Rant.
But I would say it's worth pursuing, Carl. Hang on in there. Season 2 is not great. I'm willing to admit that. But just hang on in there. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
No.
Fine, don't.
Maybe
sit there.
I might do one day.
Reruns of Friends.
It's just that's when shows were good, man. Same with wrestling.
I have friends in the modern day.
Sitting there with me, Mr. Perfect, and me Bret Hart matches.
Life truly was perfect.
It was. Anyway,
what were we talking about? So Chris Hemsworth, maybe going to be Hulk Hogan, maybe not. Who knows?
Maybe, possibly. And
Chris,
so,
what are your thoughts?
And so, for the last piece of news this week,
Drop them in there in the edit, if you don't mind.
Okay,
Don't look a fool.
The last piece of news, again from Uncle Dave at Wrestling Observer Radio. He is quoted as saying the only date that Roman Reigns is going to be on Raw is the Madison Square Garden show. That is only booking. The only time the champion will be on Raw pretty much the whole summer. Now, when they put both titles on Roman at Mania, we felt like it was a bit of a knee-jerk decision, and we were wondering what they were going to do, whether he was going to drop one of them or do something. And it turns out what they've done is kind of what they've done for the last few years now, is they've got a champion who's just never there.
It's nice to see Roman descended to that level where he's like never there.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not the kind of guy to say, I told you so, but I told you so. Anybody who goes back to them tier, that time we made a tier list, I was the one who said Roman was S tier. Anthony wasn't buying it. He's there. I told you.
I didn't realise S stood for seldom seen. That was difficult. Like, I couldn't think of a decent S.
Bravo.
But I got there. I like that.
So yeah, so he's not planning to be there. He's not scheduled for Money in the Bank. So it's like it's gonna be the fucking best Money in the Bank ever. I've got the briefcase. Okay, you're gonna cash in? No, he's not at work.
That is the ultimate like way to deal with the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Like just don't be there. They can't cash in if you don't wrestle. Yeah.
See, it's just genius, really. But yeah, so apparently he's going to be showing up. I mean, to be fair, this is Dave. This is Dave. Could have left it there, but he's also saying that this is the only time he's booked for Raw. So he's left it very open to say whether he's booked on SmackDown or not. But he's a SmackDown, technically, according to the rosters and the promotional stuff, whether he's got both titles or not. He's a SmackDown guy. So
he's a SmackDown guy.
He might be there every week on SmackDown. He hasn't said.
We know how important rosters are and brand splits are to the WWE. So you're right, he's a SmackDown guy.
Yes. But worth noting that it's been rumoured that Roman will actually face Randy Orton at SummerSlam.
And I dare say this may be the fall of Rome.
Well, this is the Madison Square Garden show is the go-home Raw before SummerSlam. So it could be that's where, the seeds do get firmly planted.
Set that shit up.
Indeed. So, interesting one, but yeah. Apparently, Roman go bye-bye.
Yes, that's in brief. Yes.
It's going to be a Romanless summer this summer.
No Rome.
Indeed. So yeah, that was the news this week. Again, we're flying through things this week. You have to let us know. Is it better that we talk less? And if so,
don't answer that.
That's not nice. But yeah, another fun-filled episode of the Ringside Report. If you haven't checked out our thoughts on this week in wrestling, go do that. And we've just got off the old phone with just another WWE Hall of Famer.
As you do.
Just chatting to them because that's who we are now. So
we were chatting away. We said, "Look, it'll be all right to press record. We'll get a few soundbites from you." And he was like, "Yes,
yeah. Just it's how we roll that." But no, so you can be looking out soon for another interview from a WWE Hall of Famer and former Intercontinental Champion. So make of that what you will.
Who could it be?
Who could it be? But until next week, here is the one and only Griff Garrison to say bye.
This is Griff Garrison, and you're listening to A to the K.
A to the K. A to the K.
A to the K.